I just finished playing Half-Life 1, and I want to talk about why I think it's one of the best and most influential games of all time. I'm going to give my review and what I liked about it, and then I'm going to compare it to other games of its time and how it holds up today. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The game sets its stage in a place called Black Mesa Research Facility, and you're playing as a physicist known as Gordon Freeman. Now, the beginning of the game seems like a normal day at work. A tram ride into the office, the security guard is giving you a hard time, you interact with your fellow scientists. You are conducting a big experiment, but nothing out of the ordinary, until the experiment goes horribly wrong and you barely escape with your life. It turns out your so-called low-risk experiment tore open an interdimensional hole, allowing aliens to come from the planet Zen and attempt to invade Earth, destroying the research facility in the process. Meanwhile, Marines are killing everything in the facility, attempting to cover up the government's oopsie. Gordon Freeman, the player, blasts through aliens and Marines in an attempt to make it out of Black Mesa alive. Now I'm going to talk about how Half-Life compares to the other FPS games of its time, and then my opinions on it. Half-Life released hot on the heels of some of the most well-known FPS games of all time: Halo Combat Evolved and Quake. Half-Life uses the Gold Source engine, which is somewhat like the Quake engine. While Half-Life and Quake have similarities, such as their run-and-gun combat, to me there is one big difference, and that is Half-Life's story. It is amazing how playing through Half-Life, Gordon Freeman does not say a word the entire game, but you still get attached to him. He's just a regular old physicist, caught up in a disaster, trying to fight for his life. The differences between Half-Life and other games of its time were clear. Quake plops you on a map, where you kill everything in sight until you find an exit and go to the next level. Whereas Half-Life has big, expansive levels that make you hunt a little to figure out where to go next. I also found that Half-Life had moments of comic relief that made the game fun and interesting, whereas Quake is just run, shoot, next level. Half-Life broke the standard of shoot stuff, find an exit for FPS games, as the game had you crawling through vents, sewage plants, and the alien homeworld Zen. And as you play through, you see the story pieced together through things that you see and hear. No cutscenes, just things you experience firsthand. Half-Life introduced a new type of storytelling games had never seen before, and players loved it. A big difference for me was when I compare Half-Life to more modern games, is there's no cutscenes. All of the story is done through things you hear and NPC interaction. You experience the whole story firsthand, and that set Half-Life apart for me from modern games.
The reactor. Waiting for you, I mean. The reactor is shut down right now, but you can activate it on your way up. You'll have to flood the core anyway to get into the teleportation labs. You're not authorized to know about
Access denied.
but I can see you already know a great deal more than any one man is supposed to.
After Half-Life release, it was an instant hit. After that, Gearbox Studios went to work creating two expansions for Half-Life, known as Blue Shift and Opposing Force. These expansions allow you to play through a different perspective but the same story, and experience Half-Life in a whole new way, and made it feel like a new experience. One of the things that really kept the game alive also was modding. We saw the first version of Counter-Strike through Half-Life mods. We also saw Day of Defeat and the first Team Fortress. Without Half-Life, Team Fortress and Counter-Strike would have never existed. Valve was very open in letting their community make mods for Half-Life and find ways to make even the game better. I love Counter-Strike, and without Half-Life, I would have never had it, and so I'm very thankful for that. Throughout Half-Life, Gordon Freeman utilizes many tools, such as his iconic crowbar and the orange HEV suit. You will also find other weapons while you play, such as the pistol, the Magnum, the M4, shotgun, several alien weapons, the RPG, the Tau Cannon, the Glowing Gun, and many more. This expansive weapons was a lot of fun to use, and blasting through aliens has never been so much fun. The variety of weapons allows each player to develop their own way of combat and strategy. I love how the game doesn't tell you how to play, it just gives you these weapons and says, do what you want with them, it's your own sandbox. You pair the weapons with the amazing story, the way the story is told, and you have something truly special. Another interesting thing in the game is the mysterious G-Man. He pops up throughout the game and appears to be watching you from inaccessible windows and balconies. He adds a mysterious effect to the game that keeps you hooked and always keeps you wondering and wanting to know who he is and why he's watching you. All in all, Half-Life is a great game, and it was also very influential. It changed the way we thought about gunplay and thought about level design and storytelling. Half-Life definitely stands out when compared to other games like Halo Combat Evolved and Quake. Quake and Doom have you just run around and shoot things and then go to the next level. There's almost no story. Whereas Halo Combat Evolved does have a story, but it's all told through cutscenes. To me, Half-Life stood out because the entire story, you're in Gordon Freeman's boots and you don't leave them. There's no cutscenes, and every second of the game they give you control. You feel like you're experiencing it and you're not just in some scientist's shoes tramping around Black Mesa. After you finish the base game, I would also recommend playing Opposing Force and Blue Shift. Blue Shift has you playing as Barney Calhoun, a security guard for Black Mesa, experiencing the Resonance Cascade. Whereas Opposing Force has you play as Adrian Shepard, a Marine sent in to cover up the government's oopsie. Opposing Force is my personal favorite, not only because does it add to the story and a new perspective, but it also adds to the gunplay. It adds new guns to the sandbox that make it fun and interesting. It adds several new weapons from the science team, it adds several new weapons from aliens, and it also adds the heavy machine gun and my personal favorite, the sniper rifle. So if you pick this up, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. Like I said, the graphics may turn you off, but you need to give it a chance because it certainly will amaze you. Even compared to modern games, it's still a really good game. And it has a big influence now today. Look at Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is a huge esports title. Half-Life has had such a big impact on the gaming community, and I would definitely recommend it. It's a must-play. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Blaze Agenda, signing off.